Okay guys, perfect 10-10 fragrances. These are all niche fragrances, perfect 10-10 though. They're fragrances that I pull for over and over again. I really like these fragrances, and the reason I find them to be perfect and 10-10 because they're unique, they have great longevity, they smell fabulous on me, they have great projection and sillage, and I love everything about them. That's why they're on this list. So again, as I said, this is a niche list. We'll do a separate designer list soon. If you want to find out about these fragrances, then please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian. Yes, today we're talking about perfect 10-10 fragrances from the niche world. No designers here on this list, so these are very exciting fragrances for me, and these are the ones that I pull for over and over again because I find them to be perfect. Everything about these fragrances are perfect for me. That's why they're perfect 10-10 fragrances. So if I feel a little off today, or if I sound a little off, I'm getting over a cold. I haven't gotten a cold since way before COVID, probably since 2019. And this is the first time I've gotten a bug. It's not COVID, some kind of a strange flu bug. So if I'm a little slow or I'm not all there, just please forgive me. But we're going to go ahead and get started with the first fragrance. It's an unranked list, just 20 perfect 10-10 fragrances. First one is Portrait of a Lady from FREDERIC MALLE. This has been in my rotation for the longest time, even though with the complaints of reformulations and things, it's not the same as it used to be. Now that it's under Estee Lauder, I still find it to be a perfect fragrance. It smells great. Rose, incense, patchouli, fruits, resins, perfection. Anyway, Portrait of a Lady from the house of FREDERIC MALLE. Moving on to the house of TIZIANA TERENZI with URSA. I feature this one quite a bit in my top lists. And I love everything about this one too, because not only is it intense, it's got a patchouli note, it's got dried fruits, it's got booziness, it's got some vanillic touches, and you know, it's everything that I like in a fragrance with great longevity. There's a complaint of some animalics here with the leather. Yes, it's a bit rough, but if you like that sort of thing, definitely try this. It's URSA from the house of TIZIANA TERENZI. Next, going to the house of DIPTYQUE, it's BENJOIN BOHEME, this one right here. Before I talk about this fragrance, just keep in mind, a lot of you were complaining that you can't find this fragrance. It is now back, it is selling, and from what I heard from DIPTYQUE also, this is getting a facelift. It's now moving into the regular black bottle, DIPTYQUE bottles, so look for that. So I guess the price will be changed, but it's also going to be less juice because this is a 100 ml bottle. It'll be a 75 ml bottle. But what I like about this one, it's warm and ambery, featuring notes of benzoin, sandalwood, styrax, and patchouli. There's that patchouli again. We've got a top three here with patchouli. And that's what I like about this one. It's the warmth, and it's got that patchouli with it as well. It cuts through that warmth and creates kind of a woody earthiness that I really, really like. But for me, this is all about benzoin. That's why it's called BENJOIN BOHEME. So it's kind of an ambery, vanillic fragrance. Not necessarily sugary sweet like vanilla, but still has kind of vanillic undertones. So it's BENJOIN BOHEME. It's a super fantastic fragrance from the house, probably my favorite. In fact, it is my favorite. Moving on to the house of Thomas de Monaco, we've got Raw Gold. Here we have another patchouli-esque fragrance, but this time we've got booziness as well. And we've got Opoponax here, we've got honey, suede leather, tonka beans. There's a liqueur note and a bit of a lipstick vibe in here. It's kind of like a modern take on an old school fragrance, and it's also got a great lingering power and great sillage and projection and things like that. All things that I like about fragrances, and this is a top-notch release, and I really love it. So if you haven't tried Raw Gold from the house of Thomas de Monaco, you can. We still have a few more of our Scent Club kits left of number 4. We increased the number, so there's a few for you guys to buy. If you're still interested, you can get that with a couple of other fragrances. But next, moving on to the house of MAISON CRIVELLI, it's Iris MALIKHAN, and really a great iris fragrance. The first time I smelled it, I instantly fell in love with this one, and I like it because it's buttery, thick and creamy buttery iris note, the Orris butter here, contrasted with some leather and some galbanum notes, so it kind of creates a leathery green powdery, buttery kind of iris fragrance, which I really, really love. So it's Orris butter with vanilla. There's leather, there's galbanum, there's mastic resin, amber, mimosa, cypress, and musks. My favorite fragrance in the collection, I think, even if I include the smaller extracts, I think this is a great fragrance. It smells really, really great. Love everything about it. It just makes me happy. And I like that whole buttery iris Orris thing in here with the leather and of course that greenness from the galbanum. So Iris MALIKHAN is the 5th fragrance. That's a perfect 10-10 for me. So I do have a few, maybe 1 or 2 daring fragrances in this list, starting with this one first. This is from the house of Papillon Perfumery. It's a Salome. This is not for the faint of heart, especially if you don't like Cumin. Also, it's animalic. It's got Castoreum and Hyrax in here. So it's jasmine, oak moss, carnation, Styrax, tobacco, hay, rose. There's a lot of stuff in here. To me, it reminds me a little bit of the classic what's it called? The Bal Versailles fragrance from Jean Desprez. I think that's his name. But it's more of an animalic take on that, although that's supposedly very animalic, but the current version is not necessarily very animalic to me. Here, I feel like they've taken that fragrance and made it a bit modern and classic at the same time and beefed it up, you know? It's got beefiness there. Just a very great fragrance. It's got ambery touches, of course, chypre touches and animalics and the sweaty cumin notes. Salome is super fantastic. I absolutely love it, but daring for sure. And then we're going to the house of Rogue Perfumery. This is Mousse Illuminée, this one right here. So Mousse Illuminée is a green fragrance with lots of oak moss, and it's real oak moss here because it's an American perfumer and we don't have the IFRA regulations here in the USA. So if you like the real stuff, check this one out. What I like about this one, it's kind of like an Irish Spring soap come to life. It's very, very green and foamy. There's a bit of a soapiness in here with the oak moss, with artemisia. There's white flowers. There's cypress note. There's olibanum. There's some laurels in here and some white musk. The combination is super great. And I feel like the artemisia creates a bit of a booziness and a bit of like a licoricey vibe running under the fragrance as well, which I quite like. This is a super fantastic fragrance and I love wearing it. So it's Mousse Illuminée from the house of Rogue Perfumery. And then moving on to the house of Nuit Nomade. This is Jardin de Misfa, this one right here. So this has been a great fragrance. I bought a bottle for the first time in 2021 and wore that whole bottle, and what I liked about this one, it has some depth to it. It's a bit more complex rather than a freshie for summer, but I like wearing this fragrance in the summertime. It features notes of dates, rose absolute, rose essence, saffron, and almonds. So a bit of a honey touch in there, but not necessarily like uber syrupy, gooey sweet. It's under there kind of. It creates for like a Middle Eastern rose water, dates and almonds, kind of a dessert vibe. But there's a bit of a tartness in there as well, and that's what I think is what really does it for me when I wear it in the summer heat. But either way, this is Jardin de Misfa. What a wonderful fragrance it is. Absolutely love it, and it's become a perfect 10-10 fragrance for me. Then moving on to the house of Atelier des Ors. This is Rouge Sarré. This one is a great Middle Eastern dessert style fragrance once again, and it features notes of vanilla, dates, plums, cinnamon, patchouli, Peru balsam. So it's balsamic, it's resinous, it's ambery, it's vanillic, and some fruitiness there as well. Just imagine those fruits being drizzled by honey and some spices, and then you're gonna dig into them and eat them. That's what it kind of reminds me of. So it's Rouge Sarré from the house of Atelier des Ors. Wonderful, wonderful fragrance. All right, up next, going to the house of Laboratorio Olfativo. This is Vanagloria, this one right here. This is my alternative to Baby Cat. Some of you don't agree. It's similar. Some of you agree it is similar, so I don't know. Noses are different. They pick up different things. I find them similar, but not quite identical. Really a wonderful smelling fragrance. For me, it's vanilla with incense. There's olibanum, there's tonka, saffron, and musk. I think what's making it different for people is that Baby Cat has a suede leather note, which is not as prominent in Vanagloria as it is over there. But what I like about this one is the fact that it's vanilla and incense together, and it kind of tones down the whole gourmand qualities of vanilla with that kind of smoky, spicy, incensey touch in there. Really great fragrance, Vanagloria from the house of Laboratorio Olfativo. Then moving on to the house of Maison Violet. This is Un Air d'Apogée. Really, really great tobacco fragrance, and one that's not necessarily thick and heavy. It's very kind of ethereal, kind of when I wear this one, because there's an airiness about it. But there's definitely tobacco and honey in here, and I feel like mimosa flower, although I think there's not necessarily honey in the notes. It's the mimosa that's creating a honeyed vibe. There's also leather here and some ambroxan, but a really great tobacco fragrance. If you haven't tried this one, try it. It's created by Nathalie Lorson, and I'm a great fan of that one, and I've actually featured it in the Scent Club kit as well. So moving on to the house of Maître Parfumerie Gantier. This is Ambre Pissot, this one right here. So Ambre Pissot is an amber fragrance, more of a classic one, but I keep highlighting it and I feel like it's a perfect amber fragrance. I've got another amber fragrance coming up as well, and they're totally different yet the same. But Ambre Pissot is balsamic, it's ambery, it's resinous, it's spicy and aromatic at the same time, and it's also really long lasting. So Ambre Pissot, a great fragrance. If you haven't tried it, please do. That was also featured in my Scent Club recently. This next one's a fragrance that I've spoken quite a bit about, and I feel like it's the best fragrance from this house. And it's a patchouli lover's dream come true. It's Psychedelique from the house of Javoy. And the patchouli in this is chocolate cakey, so it's dark and intense and thick and heavy. And imagine, you know, the patchouli, the earthiness, the woodiness, and that kind of sparkling quality that patchouli has, contrasted with an amberiness from the vanilla and labdanum and amber notes in here, which kind of creates this kind of chocolate cakey vibe. Really great fragrance. Psychedelique is fantastic. If you haven't tried it, please do. I think if you're a patchouli lover, you can't miss out on that one. This is a fairly newer fragrance I've been talking about, but Royal Incense, I feel like, is a perfect 10-10 fragrance. Really love everything about it. It's the opposite of Vanagloria in that it's kind of incensey, but this time it's honey rather than vanilla. So if you like the idea of incense, see, I have a difficult time sometimes wearing incense because it's just not, do I want to really smell like church? Because I grew up going to Christian Orthodox church, and the smell is kind of very prominent, you know, left a major impression on me. So anything that's very incensey kind of reminds me of church. Here, at least we've got something contrasted with the kind of the incense note that's prominent in this one, and of course the other one. But with this one, there's a bit of that honey touch, sweetens things up a bit and creates for a wonderful wearing experience. Here we also have some leather and a bit of rosiness, and if I haven't mentioned it, there's definitely the reminder of Kilian's incense oud for me here in this fragrance. I don't know what it is. Just it reminds me of it, which I was a big fan of. Here is Royal Incense though. Just a really fantastic fragrance. Definitely perfect 10-10. Up next is another amber fragrance from the house of Tower Perfumes. This is Accour de Desert. This is the extract version or extrait version of L'air du Desert Marocain, and more concentrated, a bit sweeter, a little less dry than L'air du Desert Marocain, but definitely the original L'air du Desert Marocain just amplified. It's amber, cedar, vetiver, coriander, labdanum, and petitgrain. Really a great fragrance, very long lasting, and I love everything about this one. L'air du Desert Marocain is still totally wearable, but if you want something a little more luxurious, definitely try Tower's Accour de Desert. I think it's a fantastic fragrance. Then moving on to the house of Marc-Antoine Barrois, it's Ganymede. Yes, it's a perfect 10-10 fragrance. Love everything about it. Absolutely love everything about this fragrance. It has a great smell. It's unique. It's different. It's sexy. It's musky. It's airy. It's dry. It's leathery. It's ozonic. All of these things come to mind. It has notes of suede leather, violet, mandarin orange, saffron, osmanthus, akiyala wood. Perfect 10-10 fragrance. This is Ganymede from the house of Marc-Antoine Barrois. If you haven't tried that, please do. Next, going to the house of Serge Lutens. It's Fille Nagui, this one right here. And Fille Nagui is definitely one of the best fragrances from Serge Lutens, although now that I have a bottle of Fumery Turk, this might have a little competitor from the same house, and also their new Écrin de Fumée is also quite nice, but I think these two classics are a little better. Fille Nagui is about pine, it's incense, dried fruits, balsam fir, and spices. The combination is wonderful. Imagine some warmth under this kind of a pine forest, snow-covered trees. So it's got a fusion of cold and warmth in here, because there's definitely a bit of ambery touch in there. Really a great fragrance. It's quite delicious. Fille Nagui is a great fragrance from the house of Serge Lutens, and I hope you guys get to try it. Next, this is fairly new, and I'm surprised how great it is. And I've told the story of how I bought a bottle of these. I actually bought 2 bottles, and they were disappointing fakes, I believe. This is from the house of Amouage. It's a Jubilation XXV Man. And wow, it's a really, really wonderful fragrance. And I'm waiting, absolutely waiting for the luxurious extract that's coming out of this one for this one very soon. But in the meantime, this is all about Opoponax, blackberry, oud, myrrh, patchouli, gaiac wood, cinnamon. For me, it's a very spicy take on a patchouli fragrance, very masculine with light fruity undertones and earthy kind of notes, and also kind of light smokiness and resinous touches with the oud. Really a fantastic fragrance. So Jubilation XXV Man is a really, really great fragrance. I'm glad I rediscovered it and really enjoy wearing it. Up next, going to the house of Orsa et Le Grand. This is Chypre Mousse, this one right here. So Chypre Mousse is a very unique and original fragrance, but really lovable Chypre fragrance. It's got lots of earthy touches and also vegetal green herbal touches as well. It's oak moss with fennel, mint, green notes, angelica, galbanum, clover, fern, mushroom, and soil tinctures. But a very, very unique combination of notes and amazing, amazing fragrance. And if you like the idea of these kind of fragrances, this is one for you to try. It's not a very, I mean, it smells fantastic to me. It's a Chypre in the end, but very earthy, and as I said, kind of vegetal, also herbal, and very earthy. It smells like the earth and greens growing, things like that. Anyway, wonderful fragrance. Chypre Mousse, definitely perfect 10-10. And then finally, we're ending the list with this fragrance from Xerjoff called Richwood. This is a great, great fragrance. It has now become my favorite fragrance from this house because I really love what it is. It's patchouli and sandalwood together, very, very amplified. And it reminds me of Coromandel, but it's not identical. There's a video comparison on the channel of Richwood with Coromandel. You can go catch that video, just do a search. But this fragrance also has vanilla, rose, musks, geranium, cassis, amber, coumarin, and vanilla. But what I like about this one, and I always say this and some of you guys don't agree, I get a medicinal vibe with this one, which was a different take on something like Coromandel. I experienced and wore Coromandel way before Richwood, and when I first smelled this one, I was like, wow, this reminds me of Coromandel, but it's totally different. And I think it's the sandalwood in here that creates the effect, or the combination of the patchouli and sandalwood. It's my nose, I smell it like that, and that's what I like about it, and definitely a perfect 10-10 fragrance. So it's Richwood from the house of Xerjoff, and that's the last fragrance for you guys. So stay tuned for a designer version of this list very soon. But in the meantime, let me know what your thoughts are on these fragrances, and what do you guys consider perfect 10-10 fragrances. Either way, guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please do list below. Please like this video, please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye. And then last but not least, I definitely have to bring these 2 fragrances up. We're going to the house of Nishane with 100 Silent Ways and Hachivat. The 2 separately are already perfect 10-10 fragrances, but the 2 together is an explosive combination, one of the best layering duos together. Smells fantastic. What I like about both is that there's pineapple, oak moss, grapefruit, woody notes, bergamot, patchouli, vanilla, gardenia, sandalwood, and peach. So the 2 different styles of fragrances do complement one another, whereas you have fruitiness in Hachivat, and you also have fruitiness in 100 Silent Ways. You've got vanillic touches in 100 Silent Ways. You've got the oak moss and grapefruit and things like that in the Hachivat, but they marry wonderfully together. They produce an amazing offspring. Smelling great is perfection with these 2. So definitely wanted to highlight these 2 fragrances. And then last but not least, tomorrow we're dropping Scent Club Kit number 5. Those of you that have been waiting, stay tuned. It'll go live around 12 noon. But I'll put out a video for that so that you guys can go ahead and take advantage of that. But as I was saying, we do have a few more kit number 4 available, and we are now shipping to 28 countries, I believe, worldwide. So those of you that are outside of this, the USA, you can now take advantage of, getting a Scent Club kit. Anyway, thanks so much, guys. Bye-bye.